In this video, we will be discussing adding some thickness to the tongue, and then some small adjustments here and there to adjust for the new mesh we've created. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by selecting the tongue. I'm going to go back to the edible poly. And I'm actually going to delete this sub div, as we can add that later on. What I want to do here is I want to select across this tongue right there. Actually, I'm going to select up here, and then I'm just going to grow it until right there where it meets kind of the toe of the shoe. And then what I'll do next is I will hit detach, and we'll just call this tongue. We'll just call this tongue 2 for now. We will attach it later on. So now if we click on our tongue 2, what we want to do next, we want to a simple shell modifier will give us a good start. Okay, so we don't want to go that way. We want to be going. Okay, so we want to be going towards the inside of this, like so. And I see I do have a. I'm going to delete this shell modifier. I'm going to turn on my. Okay, so I do have a random vertex here, and I need to connect. Oh, I have it. Okay, so I need to connect that there. Otherwise, it'll give us some issues later on when it comes to the shell modifier. So as you see, now we have those fixed, and again we can now select this and add our shell modifier to it. And we want to do the inner mount, something that looks right. So this looks pretty close, and so we need to add some thickness so that way we can have something to work with. And the reason you don't do outer mount is because if you do the outer mount, you'll see it'll be pushed out right there, which we don't want. Okay. So now what we're going to do here is we want to start to make kind of this. You see there's that kind of trim there, like how we did there on this other one. So I'm going to go ahead and Alt Q, put me in isolation mode, and I'm going to first want to convert this to poly because I like how this looks, and then I'm going to select where I want this trim to be. Okay, so I'm going about there. And I want to now match. Let's see, I'll take my cut tool. Let's just start here and then kind of just match that depth all around. Okay, so about that far down, connect it right there. And now I can do the same thing to the other side. Start there. Okay, match this depth. I had to move that one up just a hair. That seems about right. Okay, so I'm going to disable that tool, and then if I were to go to my constraints and edge, I can just pull this up right on that line. Okay, there you go. So now I have this cut that is going to be my kind of the top part of my tongue. What I do from here is I can select all these, and I'm going to extrude them out. We'll go by local normals, and we will move it to something small. Okay, I think that might be good. So actually, what I want to do now is I want to select all these top polygons. I'm going to go my local coordinates oops, turn off your edge constraint because it will make a difference. Okay, and we'll do that, and then want to use my swift loop, and what it's going to do is going to tighten up a few things. When it comes to adding a shell modifier later on. So now we have, if I were to put on my open subdiv modifier, you can see there's this kind of top portion that has that. I want it to be a little bit sharper, I think, so what I can do there is I can add one more. Oops. Maybe if I add underneath it, so just like that. This should make things a little sharper moving forward. Yeah, something sharper like that should be good. And now, if you notice in our, let's see if I can find the right. Okay. Let me hide this portion. So you see there's like a Nike, little Nike logo stitched on there. So what I'm going to do, if I were to go into here, so what I want to do is I want to take these polygons here and I want to create a label that just wraps all the way around. Okay, easy enough. What I can do here is I can duplicate this, so Control V, and we'll call it copy, and we'll just call logo for timing. We're going to, when we copy this, we will be we will be merging everything together real soon, or attaching it all together. So I'm gonna hide this, and only polygons I really want are these right here. So the front and back, just like that. And actually, I do want this little bit as well. Okay, so now I can hit Control I, delete all those others. So now if we're to go back to the tongue, you'll see it's still there. So what I'll do here is I'm going to select these. I'm going to add a shell modifier again. But this one I do want to be on the outer mount. Not a whole lot, just enough. So that should be good. And in fact, before we do that, I want to go down to my editable poly, turn on my tongue, and I will, I'll take these two edges here, and I do want to make sure to drag those down and kind of put them right against there. So the same thing on both sides. I'm going to drag these, oops. Select the two, drag them down, and put them kind of right along, like so. Okay, so now we have this label. In fact, I want to probably make this label a little bit smaller. And then what I'll do from here is I'm going to convert this to editable poly. I'm going to hide the tongue, or hide the other part of the tongue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all these polygons here. For my object selection, select this portion, because I want it to kind of be offset, or I want it to be off the tongue a little bit. And so what I'll do lastly is I'm going to take my vertex selection. I'm going to kind of tweak, just tweak this a little bit so that it will. I'm going to go back to view. I just want this to be, turn my soft selection, drop that down to maybe 2, and we'll pull that off just a hair. Maybe push these out just a hair. So I'm just kind of tweaking it here and there to make it better fit this. Okay, so now we have all that. We can now go back to our shell modifier. Now we can do the outer mount, and we can crank it a little more, so something like this should be just fine. Convert that to poly. I'm going to add a quick Swift loop. Actually, I'm going to select all these edges. And I'm going to connect them, but I want to do a connection of 2. And I want the pinch, I want them to be pretty tight to the edge like that. So now, when I were to, now when I go ahead and do the smoothing option, it will keep that crease a little tighter. So now we have our exit. We now have our logo right, our label right there for the front of the shoe. So one last thing we need to do is we need to start to connect these elements together. So we had the logo, the tongue 1, tongue 2. I'm going to go ahead, select all those, and I'm going to isolate the selection with Alt Q. And I want to go to my poly. And if you recall, we made this earlier. We made the poly. We just made it off the tongue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select these here, because what's gonna happen is those are gonna start to curve things. And I'm actually gonna select some more that I find that won't ever be seen. But also this will allow for it to be a little sharper moving forward too. So we'll delete those. Now if we're to go to our, just like that. Okay. So what we need to do before we can actually delete this subdiv. What we need to do now is select our tongue, which is also part of our toe. We need to attach it. So select attach, and we'll attach that there. Okay. And then we'll go to my vertex, select all vertex, and we're just going to weld. So as you see, our let's see, no, that's not what we want to do. Sorry. We want to select just these vertex in the middle. We want to weld those together. Okay, so we went from 310 to 303. And the reason is because we have these 7 that are laying on top of each other, but they're not welded. So now, if you're to go to a smoothing option, you'll see they'll be once again nice and smooth together, but then you also have that top tongue smooth out. Okay. So I'm going to delete that smoothing option real quick, and then I need to attach one more item. So I will select the tongue. And then next I will go back to attach, and I want to attach this little, before I do that I want to turn off this open subdiv. Okay, so now I'm going to select tongue, select attach. I want to attach this little guy right there, and now we can turn on our open subdiv, and we can end our isolation, and you'll see we have a smooth toe that transitions to the tongue, has the has kind of the thickness there, and then it goes into the shoe, which you can't see those polygons we deleted earlier because they are hidden within that kind of sock we have inside that shoe. A few more small things we can adjust here. Let's see, so our tongue does not really, it interferes a little bit with this, so we are going to start off by going to our kind of the inside of the shoe right here. We want to move some of these polygons around, so I want to turn off the back facing, so we do want the back faces here, and then we'll turn on soft selection, move that sign really tiny. We just want to I'm going to actually shrink this a little bit and just finesse it out like so, something really light so it's no longer pushing into the tongue. In fact, actually we can even take and probably would be best if we take the tongue and do the same thing. So select just some polygons here, maybe shrink them a little bit, use our soft selection. We can just kind of finesse this one this way a little bit, and then over here grab some. Make sure you're just grabbing just the top portion of it. And I'm going to shrink that to hair and finesse it this way just a little bit. Then we go to our open subdiv. It should be a little tighter. Okay, and then I noticed that these are having some polygons are busting through that. So I'm just gonna finesse that out. Hair, and over here same thing. Select a couple edges. Maybe I'll grow that one just a little bit. So yeah, just like that, we're looking good. Okay. So one last thing we need to do is, you see this flap right here. So with that, we can make that real simple, kind of with how we did this loop up here. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna go to my back. Actually, go to my back 2. I'm gonna just select some. I'll select a couple of these. Well, first I'm going to duplicate this. Copy, let's call this back loop. Now if I were to just go to my back loop with my Alt Q, let's see, select my back loop, Alt Q. I'm going to go my poly, just select, well actually in fact I will select this edge here, turn off my soft selection, and I'm going to chamfer this. The reason I'm chamfering is so I can have some even polygons to grab in the middle. So on the back it'll be about this large. I'm gonna grab these two, hit Control I, and just delete the rest. I don't need those anymore. So yeah, I mean, now what I can do is I can select this as shell modifier, and I want to put this into the outer mount. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically making this loop shape like so, and I'm going to convert this to a poly. And then what I'm going to do next is my vertex target weld. I'm going to weld these two. So as you can see here, we have this loop going on, and then I'm going to I'm actually going to move this straight up a bit, like so. Select these two edges. I want to chamfer these so that they are more rounded. Okay. And I'm going to select this top portion again. I'm going to pull this off just a hair. I'm actually going to do a, oops, let's see. I'm going to select all these. I'm going to connect them. One connection should be fine. I'm just making this kind of this shape going on. So something like that should be good. So next I will delete, with my polygon selection, I will delete all these. So as you see here, we now have this loop which should fit pretty nicely right along that back there. And I do want to push this in just a hair. So connect that and push this in a little bit more. Yeah, I'll push this in here. So something like that. And actually, I kind of want to pull these out. So something like that. Okay, and I'm gonna drop that soft selection. I'm gonna tuck this right up against the shoe. So, yes, like that, right up into the shoe. And now, what we can do here is we're going to add a shell modifier to this. And we probably want this to be the inside. So it's kind of maybe not that large, a little smaller. So just a little bit of fabric there. There you go. Now you can convert poly, and I do want to delete these two, and I do want to move this one. I'm gonna go back to my local coordinates. I'm gonna move this one into the shoe. That one needs to be into the shoe as well. In fact, I'm gonna move these with my view coordinates, move this up just a hair, like that. And one last thing I need to do to make sure that this loop maintains its form is I need to connect. I need to go connect B2. I want this to be right up to the outside, like so. So now when I were to call my open subdiv, we have a nice smooth looking loop. And I can now, so as you see here, oops, let me go ahead. In isolation. So one thing I do notice when I'm looking at this back loop, I do notice that it's a little bit low, so I want to move it up just a little bit. In fact, I actually might want to make it a little bit bigger. So something like this should be just fine. You can kind of just move around that as you want. So yeah, now we have that back loop stitched right into the shoe, like so. Okay, so it's starting to come along. Our next video, we will discuss the kind of the final part of this before we get to texturing. Will be the laces is the next big portion, and then once we get done with the laces, we're just going to do some small edits here and there to make sure that it is ready to unwrap. So that'll be in the next video.